Hey, what's up, YouTube? Logan Johnson here. I just got back from YCS Vancouver, where I was able to finish in the top 32. I snuck in at 32nd, very lucky. I finished X21 in Swiss. I played Yummy. I played the deck that's on the screen. Um, I did do a profile on the Gaming Metro's YouTube channel. That is my sponsor. Big shout out to them. Big shout out to Johnny Perkins, Hub City Collectibles, SK Games. And we actually do have a tournament coming up. We have the Gaming Metro circuit, the Metro circuit. It's going to be a tournament that's open to just players in the Gaming Metro, but we're going to record the games, do commentary, maybe stream some of the games. It's going to be a very awesome tournament with some, well-known players: Lucas Sacco, Julian, Nate Mills, myself. It's going to be a really cool tournament. I believe I will be doing commentary on some of the matchups too, so look out for that in the next couple of days, in the next week or so. With that said, I do want to talk about my whole experience over the weekend. I'm going to go over my deck, but I'm also going to go over my matchups and a combo that I just kind of want to show you guys that people are asking about. So, let's get right into the deck. I played the 9 Yummies, the 3 School. Prosp, you have to play this card because it's engine and non-engine. A lot of times you will be banishing 3 only, but the times where you need to banish 6, you can do that. Engage, drones, Puri map. This was a mistake. There should have been a second drones. I wanted to reduce the redundancy in my deck and the confliction with Purge, but it ended up being that Engage is such a better starter than Puri Rees map that I should have just said, whatever, I'll just play 2 of this, maybe even 3 of this. This card is like really fantastic. It gives you the extra push that you need that's not normal summon reliant, and the life points did end up mattering with this, so in the future this should be a second Engage. 2 surprises is pretty standard now. You need 1 for the grind game. It's also just like really good to draw when you already have engine. It's very broken to draw. Like if you have this and Obedience School together, even if you don't really have a hand trap, or like you have 1 Imperm or 1 Droplet, whatever, this can like really get you there a lot of the time. Minion, engine requirement. Croaky, if you're not playing this card, I think you are behind now. This card is fantastic. There's a very, very good line with the Obedience School that I will actually show you guys. I'll show you guys that right now. Okay. So you have Obedience School and a discard. If you get nibbed, you will technically need a second discard, but we'll get into that in a second. So this is just School. Bring out your 3 names. Link 1 for Snatchy. Place your Crocky. Synchro for Cupsy. Add your 2. You're going to discard your Fua here. Then you're going to link 1 into Snatchy. You're going to special summon the Cupsy, so now you're protected from Imperm. This will add your Surprise. And then right here, you're actually just going to pass. You're not going to go through Lollipo. You're not going to do anything else. You're not going to commit this cookie. You have everything you need here. This was not summoned off Obedience School. So you have your Synchro setup. You have your Link plus level 1 setup, which is what you want. You have your Croaky setup for a pop. You have your Surprise setup, and you have all your names engraved. There's really not a need to do anything more than this, especially game 1. And I'll show you why. So what will happen here? Let's say we get nibbed. We get a token. Let's pretend this token on their field is a nib. We're going to trigger a Crocky. We're going to summon a guy from deck. Now from here, we're going to link 1 into Snatchy. We're going to special summon the cookie. And now, since we never went through Lollipo, we're going to make the Lollipo now. And what this is going to do is it's going to trigger the Crocky. It's going to pop their nib, and we're going to trigger the Lollipo, and we're going to summon 2 back. And from here, you can make Starham. You can discard another card, and then summon back a name, and you can pass here. And from here, you have the Lollipo that's not negated. You can summon 2 back. Usually, you're going to summon back a Cupsy and a Link 1, or a Cupsy and a, both Cupsies. Once you get your Link 1 on the field, then you immediately have your Herald line set up, and then you still have the Yummy Surprise, and you cleared their nib, and you played through their nib. This combo is like very, very good. It's a very solid line that I don't think a lot of people are utilizing. There's a lot of lines that you can do with the Croaky that are similar to this. I'm not going to go through them all, but now that you have this information, you should kind of be able to piece together some of those different combinations. Anyways, back to the deck list. Croaky, this card is fantastic the whole weekend. It is also important to be able to pop the set cards against Draco Tail on turn 1 when they 5-mana you, and even on your opponent's turn, like they activate a spell, you let it resolve, and then you pop it afterwards. It's something Triff mentioned, I think, in one of his profiles as well. Also important too, that game one, if your opponent tries to like set up the half board with the vanquish cards, that you need a way to answer the trap, because if they just hold the trap forever, they kind of just win. And also just having 2 field spells just come up to be able to recycle your cards in the grave. Non-engine, I played 6 chummies. And testing Pearly was like very good because I was playing against a lot of K9 VS, and I also thought that Malice and Mitsu were going to be very good. But in reality, those decks didn't see a lot of play. And one thing I did notice was that I had a lot of games where I got like double hand trapped, and where I got board breaker, and I ended up having too many chummies in my hand. And it made the games a lot more difficult. So I do think that some of the yummy decks that went further in top cut were correct by cutting this card down or siding it. I think Valor, Thrust, and Talents in this spot would have been a lot better. Ash, mandatory. Purge and Imperm, Staples, these cards are both fantastic. Droplet. So I think there's 2 ways you could go with this. Normally I don't like combining Droplet with hand traps just because of like the card economy issue. However, if you're playing Pearly, your card economy is a little bit better, so you can kind of make Droplet work. This is also a unique format where Droplet is good going first because of Holly Sue and because of Azuna and because of Altheron. So the 2 ways you can go with this, you can either go with Triff's deck, you can cut these, play Valors, play Bells in the main. I think that's also fair. Or I think you could cut these and play Thrust and Talents, which also adds to your card economy in your hand, as well as like just upping your board breaker count, making droplets a little bit better. One thing I do think I did get correct this weekend was I think Ghost Dugger is very important. This is like one of the very few ways to stop Paradise Smasher. If you guys read the feature match, it did happen with Triff and his opponent. His opponent turboed out of Smashers and he got ogred and turns it into a 50-50. That's kind of the best chance you're going to get because you can't target the Paradise Smasher if they have Lupus. This card also has like a fairly good chance to just end the Vanquish Soul player's turn because you can hit the start, prevent them from the trap, and prevent the search. In the mirror, you can always hit the field spells. You can hit Snatchy. It has a potential to end their turn. It's a good 6 card also to hit Snatchy. So I do think this card is like very, very solid. And I think it pairs pretty well with the hand traps. And I do think it's like a semi-board breaker, so it pairs okay with Droplet as well. That was the main. For the extra, I'll kind of speed through. 3 Snatchy, Kagari, Inari, SP, Almirage, Link Spider. I actually don't think this card is mandatory. Once I practiced with the deck more and kept playing games, I didn't end up needing this card. It was kind of a comfort pick. In the future, maybe I would play something else, like a Typhon or a Contact C out. I didn't play Contact C just because I kind of just did my research and I didn't think anybody would be really playing that card. And if you do get Contact C, it's not like you instantly lose a game. You can like make an SP and set non-engine. Sometimes you're just okay. One of each Synchro, Marcher, Turklight, and then Starham. You guys kind of saw one of the combos where you use Starham. Another one is like when you know you're playing against Dracotail, this card is really important because you want to set it up so you have Herald presented as early as possible. And you can just immediately chain your Snatchy to make a Herald to their spell card and like banish everything. Another reason Starham is important is sometimes when you get Pearliad under, like you get Pearliad and you have Obedience School, you can give them basically 0 draws because you can summon back the Cupsy from grave and be able to search that way so you don't have to drop it from hand. It's also important too sometimes when you get like Bestial, Niv, Phantasme, stuff like that, that you can have this card to summon back a cookie on turn 0 and pop their guy. For the side, the go first cards were the 3 Judgment, the God cards, Talents, Call By. Then I did this like weird thrust package that I've been doing for a while, where it's 1 thrust and then like 2 traps to search off of it. It basically just gives you second copies of these. I found that this type of thrust package really makes my side patterns like fantastic and really easy. Because if you're playing cards like Duster and Talents, there's a lot of matchups where like having these pseudo board breakers against like mid-range decks is like very good going second. So like you can side in like, you know, you can side in these, the Thrust and the Duster, or in the Talents, I'm sorry, going second against some decks where you want those, especially like the mirror, where like hand trapping the mirror isn't always the best thing you want to be doing. But then also going first, you have this utility of like having the thrust with the targets, having 2 copies of this, plus the ability to like thrust into Talents is very good. And one thing I didn't like about thrust previously is that it's another like bad card to have in multiples, and it's a card that relies on your opponent making it live. So cutting down on copies of this I think is like pretty solid. I was like very, very happy with this side pattern. I think reducing redundancy is something that I do in deck building a lot that I don't think is always correct. For example, I think the pure easy map was definitely wrong, but I do think the thrust package was probably correct, and I was very satisfied with this. Another go first card, Rivalry. I was also citing this going second against K9 VS. You can just set it into most of their boards and be fine, just like win the game. Metaltronus is a first and second card against the mirror. This card is like very, very good in the mirror, but it is a one matchup card. You could play some other targets. There's like some link ones that you could play with it. I think like Clockwork Knight, it's kind of a funny one. You can like Tronus the Holly soon some Clockwork Knight, and it's like a link one on the field, but I don't think that's necessarily that real. The reason it's a one of, it was a third bell. But what ended up happening is in my patterns, I just needed one card that was like specifically go second against the mirror. And I also had space to where I could like take out an imperm going first and put this in, which is better. So it just kind of worked out that way. And then Duster's Lightning Storms, I thought early on for the event, early on in the season, early on in the meta, that these cards would be fantastic. A lot of the K9 VS players were not going for the Paradise Smashers as much. They were just going to set up their half boards and try to work with that. And these cards were fantastic in set. Also, if you play your hand, like if you have several hand traps plus these, you can like kind of just always keep them off Paradise Smasher and then like use these to clean up the rest. These are also just the best cards in the mirror. The Yummy cards play pretty well into the Yummy cards, but you can't beat the back row. That's usually what you end up losing to, so I thought these were the best options for that. And then Ghost Spell. This card's like Dominus Impulse in the mirror. Very, very solid. Just hit the synchros when they tag out. It's good as a 6 card. It's pretty solid to draw 2 of. But it also has coverage against Malice, and it has coverage against Mitsu, and it has coverage against Dracotail, which is why I ended up going with this card. But yeah, that is the main deck. I do want to go over some of my... Actually, I'll just go over like my tournament report. So, round 1, I played against a White Forest Azamina. I ended up winning 2-0. That was a fairly easy match. Round 2, I played against a K9 VS. Game 1, he bricked. And then game 3, I ended up going first and just like setting up my board, and yeah, he just didn't have a turn 0 Holly Sue play, and once they don't have that, the game is like pretty much over in my opinion, as long as I have a way to play. Round 3, I play against Heisum. He's playing K9 VS. Game 1, we both made several mistakes, and the game went on forever. We both had chances to win the game that we didn't capitalize on, and I did end up winning that game with some luck. And then game 2, I get Paradise Smashered, but I have Obedience School, and I'm able to like set up a board. And I think I'm like probably going to lose because he has a Paradise with a Lupus underneath. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna attack and make Zeus. However, I did get lucky here. He ended up banishing the Zeus off of Prosperity, so I ended up winning that game. He didn't really have an way to answer the board. Round 4. I play against Malice. Game 1, I'm able to hand trap them to like a very minimalistic half board, where like Obedient School is able to just like pretty much beat the Ransom plus Malice in the mirror. And then game 2, they pretty much full combo me, and then game 3, I am able to fight through like several hand traps. I make a half board. And I kind of make a judgment call. They end up normal summoning a Dormouse, and I use my cookie to book it immediately there, because it plays around like the March Hare a little bit better, it plays around the Bistials better, and it plays around the backup cards better. And that ended up working out for me. He had a handful of the cards I just mentioned. Round 5, I play against Nate Shimada, a very good player. He's playing Dracotail. This was a really bad matchup. Game 1 is not super close. I get like pretty blown back by a King of the Swamp and a Poly play. Game 2, I'm able to win fairly easily. Game 3 was interesting because I wasn't sure if he was going to send me first or not. I ended up siding to go second, and he sent me first, and I opened like a Fu and a Lightning Storm, so that's just kind of unfortunate. With what I was given, I don't think there's anything I could have really done. Maybe in the future I'm supposed to decide to go first, and I would have been in a better situation, because in theory that could have been like a Solemn Judgment. Could have been like a Solemn Judgment and another starter. Next round, I actually take my second loss here, so I'll go from 4-0 to 4-2. I play against K9 VS. Game 1, I go first. I draw my 5 cards and I just pass. Game 2, kind of a back and forth game that I end up winning fairly easily. And then game 3, I hand trap him like to death. He talents, looks at my hand. He takes my cookie, puts it back. So now I'm sitting on a Hornet Drone and a Perulia. But I used Purge on his turn, so the Hornet Drones isn't really doing much. And I know he has an Ash Blossom in hand and follow up. So on my turn, I need to draw any name, Prosperity, Pure Easy Map, or Obedience School, and I just like pretty much win the game there. Because like, for example, if I draw a name there, I just beat Ash like so easily as nothing else. If I draw Obedience School, I go School, he Ashes, and then my next play I can go for normal summon Prillia, make Almirage, drone, synchro into Yummy Way, and then it's just gonna resolve because he has to use his Ash. I end up top decking an Imperm, and I have to make like an SP play, and I just lose on the follow up because he has too many cards in hand that are able to play through my one interruption. So at this point now I'm X2, I'm on the bubble. I was feeling really solid after the first 4 rounds. I did make some mistakes, but overall it was a good start, and then I lose 2 in a row, so now I'm on the bubble. Round 7, I play against Yummy, the Yummy Mirror, which is one of the matchups I was like very comfortable playing against. It is a board breaker variant, which is a little bit scary. However, I'm able to just kind of outmaneuver him in a lot of the scenarios and won the grind game, game 1 and 3. And then the final round of day 1, I play against Malice. This match was it got really weird because I made a mistake. My opponent set up the like a half board with Accode Talker, and I had Droplet. And I went Obedience School, he negated with Accode. I went Droplet, send the Obedience School. And I forgot that he had a Lingeribo engraved, so he's able to tribute off the Accode. Had I sent a cookie from my hand, I could have prevented Lingeribo play, and I don't know if I win that game, but the game becomes much more winnable. With the play that I did, the game ended up going like 35 minutes, and I ended up losing the grind game because he banished both of my field spells. Game 2, I'm able to win in time, so I end up getting a draw, which was not ideal. However, for an event like this, a draw was not the end of the world. I was X2-1, so I still had some life. Regroup, day 2, I play against K9 VS. It's one of my better matchups. I just, as long as you don't get like God-handed by like Holisu, Phantasme, Nib and stuff, the matchup is like fairly easy to navigate. I end up winning that. Round 10, Mitsu Rizel. I win game 1 fairly easily. I set up my board. I'm able to just like do everything I can to keep him off of Murakumo. Game 2, my hand's very weak. I have like four engine cards and 1 Ash going second. I decided to Ash. I believe it was either a 7-tack or a Bonfire. And he just had like 2 more engine cards after that. I just died. Game 3, I got very lucky. We get to a scenario where I have a Cupsy Yummy on my field in defense, and he has a level 4. And at this point in my head, I'm like, okay, I think I win the game unless he has exactly like Ice Rizel discard, because then he can make a rank 4 without activating an effect. And of course, he did have the Ice Rizel. And what I thought he would do is go Duo Drive or Feral Imps, attack the Yummy Way, main phase 2 full combo me. I had 1 unknown in hand, and it turns out he was just afraid of like it being like a Purge or an Ash or an Ogre or something. And he ends up making a Detonator, not activating the effect to attach because he doesn't want to trigger my guy. Attacks my Cupsy Yummy Way. But the thing he forgot was that I had a Black Goat Laughs in my graveyard for my turn. So my turn comes around, I'm able to just Black Goat the Detonator and just win from there. So I did get fairly lucky there that my opponent made that mistake. He forgot about the Black Goat. So I finish X2-1, sneak into top 32. In top 32, game 1, I draw my hand against Mitsu Rizel. Draw my 5 cards. I pass, I brick, my hand's double Droplet, double Chummy, and a Surprise. I lose there. Game 2, I set up a pretty much full board with the D-Barrier set. And I end up D-Barrier calling Ritual, and then I just use all my Yummy cards to keep him off at level 4s. And then game 3, his hand is quite strong. It's something like Prairie's Habakiri X'd. And I have like Perulia, Imperm, Bell, and I draw into an Ash later on. And I thought the way that I hand trapped him was like very, very good and very efficient. I'm able to keep him just to a Duo Drive. That was obviously negated, but it has 3 materials and 1 back row with like follow up in hand. And I have a feather duster in my hand, so I'm thinking, I can, for my turn, I'm going to duster the back row, and then any starter, I just win the game. Draw for my turn, I duster the back row, I drew no starter, I went through like 9 cards in my deck, and I just had no way to play. So any starter there, I'm able to just like easily win that game and advance to top 16. However, yeah, my deck did not give me the starter in game 1 or game 3, so that is just kind of how that goes. But overall, it was a very fun event. Um, I do think this format has like a lot of potential, especially after banless. Once you don't have to like worry about side decking for the older decks, I think this format will get a lot better. Um, and maybe even move into like one of the better formats of all time. They need to ban like Dice Smashers and get rid of Malice, get rid of the Mitsu cards. But with that being said, I do have a kind of a free spreadsheet for you guys. Not necessarily a spreadsheet, but I'm going to just like give you guys a link to my side decking patterns down below. Just kind of going over the big decks. I'll just go over like the big 5 decks, going first and going second. And that's going to be completely free. All you guys have to do is just click the link, and you guys can see my patterns that I have for the weekend. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this type of video where I'm just like kind of going over the event and how it went, as well as like my side decking patterns, let me know, and I'll do this in the future again. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'm getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. I'd really appreciate it if I could get to that number soon. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and peace out.